Good. I wanted to say good morning, but I know it's almost lunchtime. So my name is Helen, Helen May-Samira, and I'm a scientist, a research scientist. And I've actually been working on BBS for many years now. I actually started in 2003. And I've actually stepped in last minute because unfortunately Sonia's lost her voice. And so what I thought I'd do actually is just very quickly show you some pictures of my lab and explain very, very briefly what we do. And then actually, we had some visitors in our lab last year, and they're going to come up and actually tell you about their experience. So, like I mentioned, I'm a scientist. I don't work in the UK. I actually work in Germany. And this is the entrance to the university. It's about the only nice, pretty picture of the university there actually is, because the rest of it is just a combination of lots of different buildings. So these are some of the people that work in my lab and my research team. And we actually are trying to understand what causes BBS. So we're actually understanding kind of on the cellular level, on the molecular level, on the DNA level, what actually happens in people that have the syndrome, what happens to the cells in the different organs, and how these changes in the cells can cause the different symptoms that people with the syndrome experience on a day-to-day basis. So we're very much basic research, but it's basic research that kind of then funnels into some of the other research that you've heard about today. So, like I said, I've only been lucky enough for the last 3 years or so to get started. And when I started, I had nothing in my lab whatsoever, so I've had to kind of put together, and slowly we've been growing. But I'm really, really delighted that this year I'm actually been able to bring 5 of the people in my team with me to the conference. And one of them is Viola here, sitting on the right. She's busy there running some gels and working in a hood. And this is us at a Christmas market. So Mainz is very famous for its Christmas markets. And it's been great to watch these students over the years get excited about BBS, get excited about the research that's going on. And what we thought we'd do, rather than just talking about DNA and talking about what causes the symptoms, is to actually show you. So I'm sure most of you, if you've gone to the doctors for a blood test, you've had genetic tests done. So show of hands, who's had some genetic testing done on them? That's most of you. So what they do if they're doing the genetic testing, what they do when they're doing genetic testing is they're actually looking at the DNA. So all of our cells have DNA, and it's the genes that are actually encoded in your DNA. And it's the genes that are then changed when it comes to people with BBS. And so what you can actually do is you can look at that DNA, take it out of your cells, isolate it, and then look at it under the microscope or by various different fancy methods to find out what's actually changed and what's not changed. And we can actually do that in the lab, but we can also do it right here. So we thought that we'd actually do it from fruit, from strawberries. It's actually very, very, very simple, and we can do it just with basic household reagents, like washing up liquid and salt and rubbing alcohol. And if you don't believe me, so we had some visitors in our lab last year. It was very, very, very exciting that 2 families came and visited us, and we gave them a bit of tour around the lab. And we thought that rather than just sitting and watching us, we put them to work. Oh, there we go. We put them to work, and we got them to extract some DNA from strawberries. And we also tried bananas, but that didn't work as well, so we'll ignore that for now. It could be that the men were doing the bananas and the women were doing the strawberries. And so, like I said, in a minute, Laura's going to talk about that experience. But for anyone who wants to give it a go, we're actually running a workshop this afternoon. So like I mentioned, some of the students that I brought with me, they'll be helping with the workshop. So for anyone who wants to give it a go themselves, we can do it this afternoon. And with that, I'm going to pass the microphone to Laura. And Emma, sorry.
Hi, everybody. Just before we read what Laura's written, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Helen and her family and the team, thank you, at the back, wherever you are. We had a really, really interesting, we felt very privileged to be there. It was fascinating, and thank you very much for accommodating us.
We're coming back.
They even got me on a plane.
So, as Helen said, at the end of March last year, me and Emma and our husbands, Steve and Nick, we all set off to Germany. We had a little jolly to visit Helen's lab. So, yep, we all got on the very early morning flight, so we're looking a bit tired here. And then we arrived at the Institute. So, when we arrived, to say we had a warm welcome is a complete understatement, wasn't it? We were treated like red carpet almost. And one of the lovely ladies had made us a cake, which we very much enjoyed. So we all had a chat, did some introductions, got to know each other. And the team were very keen to hear our family stories, which we shared, which was quite emotional actually for us. And then the team talked about what they were doing, their areas of interest, and it was quite overwhelming for us, I think, wasn't it, to walk into that environment. And I'm sorry, I can't remember all your names, but I know all your faces. And what came across most to us, I think, was apart from the huge amount of knowledge and sheer intelligence, was the passion that all these young ladies, and I think there's one man, have for researching the causes of the vision loss. Oh, you've got two men now.
Brilliant.
Oh, you've recruited another one. We'll meet him next time. And one lady explained that she was looking at the RPE, and Helen will correct me if I go wrong here, retinal pigment epithelium, which is effectively the support for the retina, and it's a newer area of research. It was last year, a newer area of research. By this time, our brains were already buzzing, and we asked lots and lots of questions, a bit rapid fire. So after refreshments, we were given a tour of the labs. Let's talk about the RPE. Yep, one of them was a sterile environment, so we had to wear white coats. That was fun. Helen showed us the retinal cells under the microscope. There's Steve having a good look. And we could all see the difference in the cells where they clumped together. So that was very interesting. Another one of the young ladies took us into the darkroom where we looked at slides that showed the cilia and cells in the retina. It was really interesting, but we have to confess that a lot of it did go over our heads, didn't it?
We were quite overloaded.
We were a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Asking lots and lots of questions, trying to understand it all. We then spent some time with Viola, Helen's lab manager, who talked about and showed us lots of the research that is going on. She's currently doing with an OCT machine. Again, lots of questions we fired at her, didn't we? And they're all very patient at answering them. After a couple of hours, we left, and we're feeling really excited about the huge amount of research that is going on, but very humbled at how hard this whole team works in the background.
Right, are you going to keep doing that?
I can do that.
Okay. So the following day, we were invited back to the lab, which was very nice. And this is where we got a bit more hands-on. And Helen, we did an experiment to extract DNA from fruit, which is what Helen was just explaining. We'll be able to do this afternoon, which is the same process used to take DNA from blood. I can't remember. Okay. So we did divide into teams, and not that we're in any way competitive, but I do have to concur that Team Emma and Laura were more successful than Team Nick and Steve. It's true. It's hard but fair. So Laura and I we had the strawberries and the boys had bananas, and we used everyday things, washing up liquid, salt and rubbing alcohol. So we mashed the fruit up, we mixed it with the liquids, filtered it through tea coffee filters into the test tubes, and then after a few minutes, the mashed up liquid settled to the bottom and the DNA rose to the top, where we were able to lift it out of the test tube. It was very simple and very, very, very interesting. Okay, again, we had rounds and rounds of questions, and we fired at Helen, who was very, very patient in explaining everything. So at the end of that, our heads were kind of stashed full of information and buzzing, It was with all the new information that we'd learned. And then we had a lovely lunch at Helen's, which was very, very nice. So again, a massive thank you for accommodating us. You were very warm, very patient with us, and it is an experience that we'll never forget. So thank you very much. And it is lovely to see you all here today.